This week in the world, Mr. Beast is trying to set the world record for the most amount of controversies in a single month, as he is now facing a huge amount of backlash because his Amazon show is being sued for unsafe work conditions, whilst also facing criticism for his brand new business venture alongside YouTubers KSI and Logan Paul. Then we have Diddy Diddle. Well, if what was found in his mansion is to believe, then absolutely. And Tom Brady was attacked in the most English way possible, following his charity work inside Birmingham at the start of this week. Beginning with our biggest story, Mr. Beast, beloved figure by most and quite the household name, can't seem to stop tracking cuck on his shoes, as it were. Kicking off last month with a huge expose by YouTuber DogPack404, real name Dawson French, in which the alleged ex-employee detailed in an hour-long video all of the crimes that Mr. Beast has been accused of, ranging from a toxic workforce to unsafe conditions for cast and crew alike. Beyond that, I really don't know what else he alleges, because DogPack404 is an insufferable human being, so I stopped watching halfway through. But those same allegations launched by Dogpack against Beastie Boy are now scraping over into his latest production, The Beast Games. Produced in partnership with Amazon, yes, that giant Amazon, Jimbo is hosting a game show with a prize pool of $5 million. If you're curious why Amazon is basically paying just for a long-form Mr. Beast video, all I have to say to you is you don't have to reinvent the wheel for it to work. 5 contestants on this production, however, have now filed a class action lawsuit against both Mr. Beast's production company and Amazon Studios. Amongst their complaints are an inappropriate wage bill, whatever the f that means, as you agree to your wage before you even start, but whatever, the future forbidment of labor actions that they had to endure, alleged sexual harassment, and straight out unfair treatment. Time will tell whether or not this lawsuit will actually get any legs, but in the meantime, Jimmy is showing absolutely no signs of slowing down, and in fact just announced the launch of his own Lunchables competitor called Lunchly alongside fellow creators KSI and Logan Paul. Of course, because the internet's the internet and everybody can speak even though they shouldn't.
So Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, and KSI have released a new food product and people really aren't happy about it.
This also gained some backlash, instigated by popular YouTuber Dan TDM.
He tweeted, "What happened to YouTubers, man? I can't stay quiet anymore. This is selling stuff just to make money. But how does this benefit their fans? This is selling crap to kids who don't know better than to trust the people selling it to them. Do better."
For me personally, I think it's a bit hypocritical of him of all people to say, and it's a soft-wristed wank of a complaint at best, which should mean a lot coming from me because I am a D1 hater, and even I sat out of complaining about this. Moving on to an even more divisive figure, former president and current POTUS candidate Donald Trump was once again almost assassinated. It goes with no need of reminding that Trump was recently almost murdered whilst attending a rally back in July, resulting in probably one of the most iconic photos of the 21st century. Well, that same Trump was almost got again on Sunday the 15th. However, unlike last time, Trump wasn't giving any impassioned speeches, but rather was on his way out to do a round of golf. That's when suspect Ryan Rofe was located by Secret Service, who were doing an initial sweep of the area for any potential threats. He was spotted with a semi-automatic rifle pointed towards the course, a GoPro that was positioned in a way that could record or take pictures of his assassination, and 2 ceramic tiles in 2 separate bags, presumably as makeshift body armor. Thankfully, he was spotted a mere 500 meters away from the former president and was immediately fired upon by Secret Service. It was at this point that Ruth fled into his car and began traveling down the I-95. He didn't make it very far as police almost immediately caught the suspect and placed him into custody. I refuse to put on the conspiracy hat, but it's a bit insane that someone as controversial as Trump was nearly assassinated twice in a 3-month span. A sentiment that was shared by hard-wristed wanker Elon Musk, who posed the question publicly on Twitter as to why nobody was attempting to assassinate current President Joe Biden or Democratic nominee for future president Kamala Harris. A tweet that was since deleted, more than likely by force, because when you're such a high-profile figure like Elon Musk with vast amounts of influence, the FBI typically does not like it when you instigate potential assassination plots. Only they're allowed to do that. In less serious news, one of YouTube's biggest personalities, Nick Avocado, has pulled the same trick that my starter wife did, fooling everybody that he was fat when in fact he was pregnant with another man's child. That is not strictly true for at least one of us, and in his case, he wasn't pregnant at all, but just fat. Best known for creating his mukbang videos that people watch just out of morbid curiosity, Nick has become one of the platform's biggest faces for the character he plays, a selfish, arrogant tub of lard. Even leaning into this with his brand new reveal video, in which he shared to the world that he has secretly been skinny.
2 steps ahead. I am always 2 steps ahead. So I am the villain, because I've made myself one. And you will continue to consume these stories about me year after year after year.
You see, Nick pre-recorded all of his videos for a time period of 2 years, and in such time went about losing the weight for some kind of social experiment, in his words. Since his reveal of news outlets are to be believed, the internet's gone wild. But in actuality, nobody really cares. Because again, the man's playing a character. He's not being serious when he says he masterminded some sort of grand plan. But while we're on the topic of masterminds, I know I've already had my cheeky little rhyme of the day, but please allow me one more. How many diddles did Diddy done do? That is the question the US government is asking itself currently. As rapper Sean P. Diddy Combs has finally been arrested, facing the charges of, and let me pull up my phone to read them all for you, allegations of sex trafficking, coercion, racketeering, and prostitution. The government is trying to argue that P. Diddy developed a very complex crime ring in order to insulate himself from his many misdeeds. And in even further charges, members of this criminal ring are facing accusations, and let me pull up my phone again, utilizing bribery, arson, forced labor, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. Diddy did fear that his misdeeds would be brought to the light of the sun, and as the government argues, P. Diddy has a known pattern of abusing women that only escalated from physical violence to organizing coerced sexual acts, highly elaborate sexual acts at that, calling these activities freak-offs. Diddy had a freak-off. His methods of coercion and control included illegal drugs, as mentioned physical abuse, secret recording of intimate acts, and leveraging his fame and status in order to advance victims' careers. If convicted of sex trafficking alone, Diddy could face up to 20 years in prison before factoring in any of his other crimes. Before we move on, I feel like I have to mention that during one of the many police raids on Diddy's home, investigators uncovered 1,000 bottles of baby oil that the investigators were referring to as freak-off supplies. Need to put this man in the fucking ground.
I'm trying to cook some food. Why they recommending me Diddy? Cause it presents to you the downfall of Diddy. Bro, I'm over here trying to cook some meat and they showing me the meat master.
With Freaks on the Block, we have the original Freaks, Linkin Park, also making headlines for their announced reunion. The band, of course, went on public hiatus back in 2017, following the death of their lead vocalist, Chester Bennington, but have now decided to return back in 2024 with a new album and new tours, and even a new frontwoman by the name of Emily Armstrong, an appointment that fans aren't very happy about, to say the least. Some see it as extremely disrespectful towards Chester Bennington's death, and some see it as a good idea, but the particular choice of Miss Armstrong wasn't very, good, seeing as she is a public Scientologist who was amongst the many who penned a character letter for convicted sex criminal Danny Maniston. Either way or either reason, there has been a loud outcry, and no one is more louder than Chester's own son.
It's not that Emily's a bad vocalist, it's that she apparently has the past that she has, and she has not, in my opinion, given an appropriate response.
Do I personally think it's disrespectful to Chester? Not really, no. For as important as Chester was to Linkin Park and their success, it is also important to remember that Chester was a part of the group and wasn't the group. Every single one of the members contributed just as much as Chester, if not more, to their work. So to me, it seems a little bit ridiculous to tell them they can't perform their own work simply because one member passed away. But I do understand the backlash of the appointment of Miss Armstrong. Those concerns are a little bit valid somehow. But I can't understand, and I never will, is the Nintendo Corporation, as the company have long since been described as living in the Stone Age with just how anti-consumer the company is, for basically enforcing indentured servitude on pirates, and just how much they actively go out of their way to intentionally decimate their own Smash community. Nintendo seems incapable of understanding the modern times or even getting with them, with yet another highlight of this brain-dead attitude coming from their brand new lawsuit against Palworld, the massively popular Steam game that released in January of this year, which in theory utilized the same system as Pokemon, but cooler because it's got slavery. Before the game was even released, it was assumed by most that the historically litigious brand was going to bust all over Pocket Pair Plus upon release, but to everybody's surprise, that wasn't the case straight out of the gate. They managed to hold themselves back up until yesterday morning, when an official patent infringement case was launched by Nintendo in Tokyo. To me, this seems to be an indication that, at best, that the gaming giant's case is weak, and at worst, almost non-existent, seeing as the company doesn't actually own the concept concept of capturing creatures in digital spaces, it could be possible that the company is aiming to prove to the courts that the designs of individual characters from both Palworld and Pokemon are so similar that it is in fact copyright infringement. However, this may be a little bit of a stretch. All that being said, I can almost guarantee that this case will fall in favor of Pokemon and Nintendo, regardless of how weak their argument is, as Japan is known for their very strict dogma around copyright and fair use. Basically, fair use doesn't exist, and the dogma is take this dicking and like it. Next up, we have unexpected news coming from Lebanon, as terrorist group Hezbollah had a little bit of a shocker, after thousands of pages used by the terrorist organization in order to give instructions towards its members, as well as spread propaganda, all exploded simultaneously. The how is yet to be clear, but this attack, as of right now, has left at least 20 dead and thousands injured. So far, the group suspect Israel of orchestrating the attack, and it is suspected upon the initial shipment of the pages, Israeli agents planted small bombs inside the devices in order to be detonated at a later date. But in all fairness, and you gotta keep this historical context in mind, if Hezbollah dropped their bagel that they were enjoying on a nice Sunday walk, they would find some way to blame Israel, seeing as the group quite literally sees the Jewish race of people as blasphemous and should be damned for all time. And it is this group's sole mission in this life and the next to destroy them. So it is understandable why they would assume their mortal enemies are behind it. Speaking of damned and unholy people, we cross over to Birmingham, and I'm sorry that I even had to mention the name, as I imagine that many of you who have been near that hellhole have PTSD just hearing the city uttered. But at a recent league match between themselves and Wrexham, the club were visited by their benefactor and minority stakeholder, Tom Brady. Of course, in typical brand fashion, both clubs went absolutely out of their way to fluff and puff Mr. Brady as much as possible, even having a visit from probably one of the most handsome men alive, Mr. Beckham, and just generally trying to give him the royal treatment. That was until he walked past a bunch of filthy, disgusting football commoners. I'm not keen on living in this country, but it has its moments. Which leads us to our last and most important story of the week. The pubs are all shutting down. At least they will if current PM Keir Starmer gets his way. Starting back in August, it seems that the smoking ban within the UK is starting to get more and more traction, with the Labour Party now picking up the ball that was left behind by the Conservatives. For some time now, the UK government has been considering an outright smoking ban, a movement that seems to be advancing, seeing as now the Labour Party is considering banning smoking outside of nightclubs, outside of coffee shops, and outside any general public area. The end goal has been speculated by observers to ban smoking outright for any person born after the year 2009. A similar program that was adapted in New Zealand in 2022, but has since been redacted in February of this year. Obvious issues with this plan for anybody looking in. There's a real-world failed example of this with the Kiwis. The rate of illegal cigarettes and illegal cigarette sales will absolutely balloon even greater than it is currently, which is also to blame on the government because of their constant price raises, the huge loss of taxable income from legal tobacco sales, and most importantly, in my opinion, the stripping of people's liberties. Dude, this is what a cigarette packet looks like in the UK, and people are still smoking. At this point, there's nothing you can do about it. And in my view, if somebody wants to poison their body, it is their God-given right to do so. The NHS strain, thinking of the kids, everything. If I want to inhale tar and smell like rotted asshole, that is up to me as a person, and I should be allowed to do it, goddammit. Speaking of worn asses, I'm pretty sure I've worn yours. A big thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next week with all of your news needs. Bye bye.